Hey there, welcome to Winter Warfare. Today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about ice climbing, and this is by no means an instructional video. So this is just giving you guys a little bit of information about ice climbing and just kind of planting the seed and seeing if it's something that might be helpful for you when it comes to getting through the mountains. A little bit about myself. Prior to this, I was in the Marine Corps for 6 years. I was Marine Recon. We did some winter mountain warfare type training. Not a whole lot of it. A lot of the ice climbing that I do, I'm just a very avid ice climber. It's a hobby of mine. But there's a lot of good things when it comes to ice climbing that can help you guys in a combat environment in the winter. One of the big things for recon was trying to stay hidden, sneaking around behind enemy lines, and really a big part of that is walking or traveling through areas where the enemy does not want to go, or anybody, where nobody else is going to want to travel, because you don't want to be walking down a road and then obviously you're going to, probably be seen or caught like that. So you're going to travel through a lot of rough, difficult terrain that the average person doesn't want to go to. And part of that in the winter, you might be in an icy creek bed. It might not be flowing this hard. It might be something just like a small stream that goes through a canyon. But in the winter, that can really ice up a very large, like this waterfall here is something from the smallest trickle that over just days and weeks and months of freezing, it builds up a lot larger. So you don't really need a large waterfall to have a large climbable ice climb. Usually the heavier the flow, it's going to be harder to freeze up anyway. So I'm kind of getting off track here, but kind of what I'm trying to say is when you're traveling through like steep or icy terrain, or in maybe terrain where you're trying to stay hidden, ice climbing equipment and training is going to help you a lot. So it might not be something that you're going to be climbing up actual vertical waterfalls, but you might just be climbing up something like a 45-degree, a 30-degree creek bed where it's just frozen, and without ice climbing gear, it's going to be really difficult, if not impossible, to get up that. But with the correct equipment and training, it'll make it a lot easier and safer. So I just want to go over a little bit of the equipment. Obviously, because I'm out here in the mountains, I wasn't able to bring all of my gear. It's also super snowy, so a lot of this stuff is kind of covered up and hard to see. When I get back to my house and my garage, I'll bring out some different types of ice climbing equipment that you can see, and I'll explain the differences between like the different crampons, ice axes, some like an idea for boots, and just go over some of the gear. But again, this is not an instructional video. This is strictly just giving you a little bit of information on ice climbing and how it might be useful for you. All right, so I want to talk to you a little bit about different types of ice climbing axes. The main one that you're going to see, usually if you go to like REI or something like that, is going to be more of a mountaineering style ice axe, where you're going to still have the pick and the adze, but instead of a curve to the shaft, it's going to be more of like a straight shaft. So it's usually not going to have like the little finger holds here. So that's going to be good for like climbing mountains, working in steeper, icy, snowy terrain. It also kind of helps a little bit as like a walking stick. But when it comes to climbing steep ice like this, it's really not going to work at all for you. I don't have any as an example, just because I don't have any use for them. So you're going to have another style here. I'll show you. This is the Black Diamond Fuel ice axe, and you're going to see it's got a much more aggressive curve to it, and then it's going to have another handle that has an even larger angle to it. And this is really going to be great for any kind of like steep ice climbing, but in any kind of like mountaineering, or just getting through steep-ish icy terrain, it's helpful, but it's not nearly as helpful as a mountaineering style ice axe. So then you're going to have something kind of in between. So this one This one is a DMM Rebel. If any of you guys are a Tomb Raider fan, you probably recognize this from the movies and video games. They went ahead and copied the one from DMM. So anyway, this is going to still have a curve. It's not going to be nearly as aggressive as more of like the Fuel, but it's still going to give you a bit of a curve, so you have more of a good grip when you're climbing steep or vertical ice. And then the other thing too that you're going to see on these is, like I said, there's an adze, right? And that's for like chipping away at ice. And then you're going to have a hammer, which the Fuels also have a hammer on the back, and that's going to be for hitting in pitons and I don't know, any other thing that you might need a hammer for. You can even break away ice with it a little bit, but if you have the pick, why use the hammer? So a few things too about ice climbing gear. I'll go over a little bit about crampons. So crampons are the spiked pieces of gear that go on the bottom of your boots. You are going to need special boots as well, something that actually has the like little notches in the toe and heel to accept the bars that the crampons are going to have. So you're going to have a vertical monopoint type crampon. And again, I don't have all of that out here. The only one I have is a monopoint vertical, but I don't have like a dual point or a more of a mountaineering type, but I'll show you when I get back home. So for crampons, you're going to want to find something that has like a vertical front, the spikes on the front. You don't want to have the ones that are like, looks like it's stamped steel and it's like a flat type of crampon. That's, again, more of a mountaineering style crampon, and it's not going to help you kick into the ice nearly as well. I've never used those type. I would assume that they probably break or bend. I could be wrong. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But you really want to get something that has that reinforced front point to the end of it if you're going to be kicking it into ice. As far as boots are concerned, there's a lot of different kind of boots you can get out there, but if you really want a good all-around mountaineering boot, I like the Loa, I think it's the Loa Mountain GTX. I'll find out when I get home. They're the ones that I'm wearing right now. You can't really see them because of the snow, the gaiters, the crampons, everything, but it's just a good all-around boot that does also accept the crampons, and it keeps your feet nice and dry and warm. The other thing I'd like to recommend getting is some gaiters, especially when you're moving through deep snow. The last thing you want is for that snow to start to fall inside of your boot and then melt, and now you have cold feet, wet feet, and nothing good can go from there. You also usually want to wear like some sort of Gore-Tex bottoms and top. A lot of times when you're climbing ice, it can be like raining down on you, so you don't want to get, again, wet and cold. So you want something that's going to keep you dry if you're climbing something that even has the smallest little trickle above you can, after a while, get kind of miserable. Other bits of gear, obviously you want a harness. You're going to want a good helmet and some sort of eye protection. Usually I just wear like actual sunglasses or clear eye protection. I forgot those at home today just because it was super snowy. I had the goggles on. When I was hiking in, it was just blowing a lot of snow pretty fast. So, okay, so another benefit that I forgot to mention earlier is having an ice axe with you can also keep you safe if you lose control on maybe a steep, snowy hillside, because it gives you the ability to get the ice axe and dig it into the snow, and then that will help as a brake to slow you down and stop your descent. There's a few different types of ice axes out there. You can get like more of a mountaineering type ice axe, which is going to have a pick, an adze, and then the shaft of it is going to be just like pretty much a straight shaft. It's not going to have any sort of angle to it. Okay, so the technique I'm using today is rope soloing. So this isn't something that's going to help you by any means get through difficult terrain. This is just something that I do when I'm climbing something very small, safe, and easy by myself. It's something that I hook up a rope to a fixed anchor up top, and then I rappel down it, And that way, using this device, it's called a Taz Love 2, as I climb, the rope, gravity pulls the rope through the device, especially when I get up higher. When I'm down lower, I'm going to have to feed it out, every once in a while, just to get some of that slack out, or if I want to take a break. But this is something, obviously, I don't recommend to anyone new getting into ice climbing to go out by yourself. This is something I've been doing for years with different training and experience. So the technique I'm doing today isn't anything that I think you guys would ever use. It's just so I can climb small routes safely by myself without a belayer. All right, so I'm back in my garage where I can talk a little bit more about the gear in better detail and actually be able to show you kind of up close what I'm talking about. So these are the boots that I wear. I really do recommend these ones a lot for anybody looking to get into ice climbing, especially something that's just a great all-around mountain boot. This is the Loa Mountain Expert GTX, I think EVO. I want to say I paid somewhere in the ballpark of $450 to $500 for this. Nice thing about this is it's got a very sturdy sole, so it helps keep the bottom of your foot stiff when you're ice climbing. That's something that you don't want a whole lot of flex in. And then it's also going to keep your foot nice and warm and dry with the Gore-Tex material. It's also going to have little notches in here for the toe bar and the heel bar. So you're going to see when you put the crampons on, you're going to be able to just put that bar right into that notch. And then the bar in the back, it's going to be kind of hard to do this when I'm not standing on it, but that's going to clip into that right there. And then now the strap just basically wraps around here, and then it's nice and solid on there. So these are the crampons that I was using in that last video when I was climbing in Colorado. They're the Gravel G20 Plus, and these ones really are a true monopoint crampon. So instead of having two front points, like you can see here with the Petzl Sarkin, you're going to see two front points versus one single front point here. Benefit of that with the single front point, in my opinion, and there's a lot of different opinions on this. Some people love dual point, some people love monopoint. Personally, I'm more of a fan of the monopoint for the steeper ice climbing, because you can get a really good penetration into the ice, and then I don't know, I think it just seems a little bit easier to me to be able to kick this into ice when you're climbing. I don't have what I was talking about, the mountaineering crampons. I really don't have a use for it. You can see here the Sarkin. This is probably the first pair of crampons I bought before I really knew what I was doing. So you see it still has kind of an aggressive vertical front point here. Mountaineering crampons are literally going to be kind of like a stamped sheet metal, where this vertical part right here is not going to be there. Those aren't really going to work great at all for ice climbing, especially any kind of vertical ice. I've never actually climbed with a mountaineering style crampon, but I imagine that it is not going to have near the amount of bite and penetration that a more aggressive single point is going to have. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but all right, sorry, my son interrupted me. But okay, so with the mountaineering style crampons, it's like I said, it's going to be kind of like a just a flat stamped sheet metal type deal. I would imagine it's probably not going to be nearly as durable as an actual vertical front point here. So if you really don't know what you want between a dual point or a mono point, you can go with, there's a few different brands that have crampons where it gives you the option to actually change the location and number of front points that you have on there. The Petzl Lynx is one that's a great crampon for that, because it actually comes, I don't have any here, but it comes with like separate front points, and then you can remove them, and then you can do a mono point right in the middle. You can do one on one side, or the other side you can do 2 points in the front. And then the nice thing about that is the more you climb, you're going to start to wear this down. And with these, where these front points are really permanent, and there's nothing you can do about that other than just sharpening them over time. When you get different types of more of like the technical, ice climbing crampons, they come with replaceable front points, or you can just buy them online. These are the Cassin Blade Runner. So these ones are kind of interesting, and I really do like these ones a lot. They can be a single point, but you're going to see that it has these other 2 points right here, even though you have the mono point up front, but then these are just going to help kind of bite into the ice and give you a little bit extra stability, I guess. And then you're going to see these different like notches in here, and I cut out a few different ones to when I was playing around with where I really wanted it. But you can put in like 2 of these separated if you want to, like a dual point, or you can keep the mono point and you can kind of change where it goes. So these are really good crampons as well, but these ones are going to be pretty expensive. Gravel makes some of my favorite ice climbing equipment. They really put a lot of attention to detail in a lot of their equipment, and they've been doing it for a long time. I want to say, I could be wrong, but I want to say that these might even be the longest or oldest ice climbing manufacturer in the world. I think they're the company who first made the original crampons. So yeah, it's kind of cool, a little bit of history there. A lot of crampons too are going to come with this like front little toe basket here. So if you don't want to, or if you don't have mountaineering boots with that little front notch right there, you can get it with this like toe basket here. So instead of this bar being here, you just pop that off, and then this one would pop on, and then the strap ends up going through this hole, so it basically will fit onto boots that don't have the little front toe notch right there. You can also get crampons that kind of have the same thing in the back, where you don't actually have to clip it into like the little notch on the back side of the boot. So you're not going to have as good of stability. So I recommend, if money's not a thing, or if this is something you really think that you're going to get into long term, definitely get some crampons with the bar right here, and then get the boots that have the little notch, so you can use the better, more stable crampons with these boots. And even if you don't want to get into like big ice climbing, but you know you're going to be doing a lot of outdoor winter activities, boots like this are going to be great to have. Even if you're not ice climbing, you might be in steep, icy terrain, something that's kind of sketchy, dangerous, or slippery, and then just having crampons in general, even a mountaineering style crampon just for that kind of terrain, not actual like vertical ice climbing, is going to be really good to have to keep you from falling and just kind of help keep you stable. All right, so you saw in the video earlier where I had the Black Diamond Fuel with the hammer on it. You also saw the DMM Rebel. This one has the ads, and then it also, let me grab it right here, comes in an option with the hammer. This one's not available anymore. It's discontinued, and it's pretty rare, but honestly, besides just kind of the cool collector side of it, and if you're a Tomb Raider fan, other than that, this really isn't that great of an ice axe in my opinion. I think you're going to have a much better climbing experience if you get one of like a more modern style ice axe, like the Fuel here, or this one is one that I actually highly recommend for somebody who's kind of an all-around, someone who's does a lot of different things in the mountains and not really focusing on just vertical ice climbing as maybe a sport or a hobby. But this one's the Black Diamond Viper, and let me grab it here. So this one comes with an adze, and it also comes with a hammer. And I recommend, if you don't have a real strong opinion or reason to have one or the other, get one of each. It's really nice to have an adze and a hammer. Just adds a little bit of versatility to your options there. And then you have like this front like top trigger or finger rest, hand rest, and that is adjustable where you can move it around if you need to. You can remove it if you want to. This bottom hand rest can be taken off, and then you can swap out the picks for different style picks. There's different, like this one's specifically the Natural Ice Plus, which is really the only kind of pick that I use. I do have some for dry tooling, which is when you're using ice axes to climb only rock, but I bought them a while back thinking I would use them and really never did. I really just stick with the Natural Ice just because I think that these ones work really well for what I do. All right, so another thing that I didn't talk about before are going to be ice screws. So this is going to be something that you're going to be building a lot of like your anchors with. Also, if you end up getting into lead climbing where the belayer's at the bottom and the rope just goes between the belayer and the climber without going to the top first, that's where the climber is going to be setting his protection as he goes. So this is it's just a big hollow screw. It's going to screw into the ice, and then you've got like this little swivel handle thing right there, so you can screw it in place. Once it's set and solid, you can go ahead and put your quick draw onto there, clip the rope into that, and then keep climbing above that. And if you fall, the idea is that the last ice screw that you placed should hopefully catch you. But really, when it comes to ice climbing, you never want to fall. Even if the ice screw is going to catch you, you just have so many different sharp things on your body. You've got the ice axes, you've got the crampons, you've got a bunch of these hanging off of you, and you could end up stabbing yourself, and that can be pretty dangerous. So this is a slightly larger, medium size ice screw. They come much shorter and not quite a bit longer, probably I don't know, maybe out to here. This is one made by Gravel. It's kind of interesting the way it has this little handle come out so you can screw it in place and then clip in to here. This one's made by Black Diamond. There's a lot of great ice screws out there, so I don't really think there's any specific that you need to go with. It's just nice to have that little swivel right there if you can find them with that. That's very common though. Otherwise, I don't think I really have anything else to talk about. Thank you guys for watching today. Be safe out there. Definitely don't get into ice climbing until you've gotten the proper training on this, and have fun, guys. Thank you.